I got you. I'd like to thank everyone for joining us for the Lafayette Township Board of Trustees and Fire District regular meeting Tuesday, May 12th at 7 p.m. I'd like to call the meeting to order. Roll call.
Kittle here.
Bala here.
Paroli here. If I could have everyone stand for the pledge, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So we've just got the one item on the consent agenda for this evening, the meeting minutes from April 28th. Did everybody get a chance to review those?
Yep, everything looks good to me.
Okay. Then I would make a motion to approve the consent agenda consisting of the April 28th, 2026 regular meetings minutes.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Go ahead and get those signed, and we'll just get that added in. Next up, we have the fiscal reports. Everybody got a chance to review the fiscal reports?
Yes.
Okay, so the first item would be the payroll. If you could sign that one for me. Payroll for the township, pay period starting April 26th, 2026 through May 9th, 2026. Total of $6,079.21. I would make the motion to approve.
I'll second.
All in favor? Aye. For the fire district, same pay period, payroll totaling $28,403.41. Make the motion to approve payroll for the fire district.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? On the warrants for the township, we have electronic warrants and checks. Electronic warrant 175/2026 through 183/2026, and checks 37,809 through 37,825, totaling $25,151.39. And no, that was on the fire district side, right? Yes. All right. So I would make the motion to approve.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And then on the fire district side, we have electronic warrants 309/2026 through 317/2026, checks 2201 through 2209. That actually totals $12,609.86. The first one listed for Dennis Bosch was already paid, so total amount of $12,609.86. Did you want to?
Yeah, there was just a minor discrepancy, a 50-cent discrepancy on payment to,
The check for Mower Works.
Yeah,
The invoice was for $52.50. It looks like the check's made out to for $52. So we'll just have to let Sherry know, but for now we'll approve it so that they get the majority of the payment. So I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, and then we will incorporate these with the minutes, so if you could each initial those for me, please. Next up under fiscal, we do have a couple of supplemental reallocations for appropriations. That's basically where we've already appropriated the money for the year, but in order to facilitate payments, or paying from certain funds for different expenses, some minor adjustments. So the ones that we have is we have an increase in fund 1,110,410 of 6,576.72, which is offset by a reduction of 1,110,311 of $3,000 and 1,110,230 of $3,576.72. And then we also have a second appropriation, supplemental appropriation or reallocation. This one totals $8,576.72. It's an increase in fund 1,110,410 of $6,576.72, and of fund 2041-410-360 of $2,000, with offsetting decreases of $2,000 to 2041-410, $3,000 to 1,110,311, and $3,576.72 to fund 1,110,230. This is when we were looking at the invoice for the mowing, because, and we will have to look at additional appropriation potentially later in the year, but since much of the mowing is for the cemeteries, we're able to cover some of those that we hadn't planned on originally, so that's the reason for the second. reallocation. So I will make a motion to approve both of those.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And then we had discussed briefly at the last meeting, we had then and now purchase orders, both on the township and the fire district side for, tax collection fees, we had not allocated the money appropriately to the right fund. So Sherry had to do it then and now for both of those. With the amounts exceeding $3,000, we need to do a resolution on both of those. So I do have resolutions 2026-36, which is resolution approving then and now certificates pursuant to Ohio Revised Code 570541D. And that was for the Medina County Auditor PO for 2026 in the amount of $5,011.86. I would make the motion to approve resolution 2026-36.
Can you say that amount again?
$4,511.86.
Thank you.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All right, roll call.
Badal, yes.
Kittle, yes.
Parola, yes. Let me get that printed out. Bear with me here. And then, the second one that we have is resolution 2026-16FD, same situation, then and now purchase order for the Medina County Auditor to cover tax collection fees. Let me get the right one up here, sorry. Purchase order is for 2026 in the amount of $4,388.28. I would make the motion to approve resolution 2026-16FD.
I'll second.
Alright, thank you, Carrie. Roll call?
Badal, yes.
Kittle, yes.
Parola, yes. And then, trustee Kittle, you had brought up, the tax budget.
Yeah, real quick before we get into that, Carrie, did you wanna talk about that?
We're doing that in service park.
On service, okay, alright, perfect. Yeah, I was just looking ahead, on the schedule and things that we have coming up due, and I know July 15th, we have a tax budget, 2027 tax budget due. I don't know exactly, if we're a little bit ahead of schedule on that, but, I wanted to at least get it on our radar.
Yeah, no, I talked to, Sherry, about this, and, you know, what we were thinking is really, you know, the beginning part of the budget for 2027. So her thoughts were to kind of approach it the same way we did appropriations at the beginning of the year. You know, she would prepare kind of the worksheets for us, and then maybe set up a work session, or, you know, a chance for the tax budget, you know, especially since we already did a lot of the work, we could more than likely cover at a high level, you know, independent work based on the budgeting that we did previously.
Okay.
So Sherry's gonna work on getting those reports to everybody so that we can kind of start working on it. And then once you get a chance to kind of take a look at it, then we can decide whether we wanna do a separate work session if we think we can cover it in the regular course of a meeting. But it is, you know, obviously an important step in the process. It starts kind of setting the tone for 2027. Give us an idea of where we're gonna finish this year, hopefully, like what we'll have on hand at the end of this year. And then also, you know, kind of what we think we're gonna need to spend, you know, for the planning. So, definitely something that we wanna be ahead of. But I think we'll address that in the next, probably start to be able to discuss it in a little more detail, you know, at the next meeting. Along those lines, or kind of, you know, we've been talking about it briefly, we do need to put the deposits out for bid every 5 years. We're required by statute to do that.
Okay.
So something to think about, it's a 2-resolution process. We need to decide, obviously, our current depositories, Westfield Bank and Huntington Bank, will both get offers to bid. They have to complete the packet to continue, you know, holding our deposits, so I'm sure they will. But it probably makes sense. Sherry had a couple of recommendations. If you guys have any recommendations of potential financial institutions that we wanna reach out to, it probably makes sense to try to get 3 to 5 different banks. And then what'll happen is, once we pass the resolution determining who we're gonna solicit to a post, and then, once we get those bids back, there'll be a approval process for anybody that we're gonna actually deposit funds for, and again, that's due every 5 years, so, you know, we'll probably discuss that in more detail at the next meeting or two.
Okay.
That's everything I have under fiscal. Do you guys have anything else you wanted to cover under there? Chief, fire district report.
All right. Good evening. We had 55 calls in April, 38 were during the day, 17 at night. 2 in the city of Medina, 41 in Lafayette Township, 1 in Medina Township, 2 in Mountville Township, 3 in Chippewa Lake, 3 in Glory Glens, 1 in Seville, 1 in Westfield Township, 1 in York Township. Minute and 52 is the average turnout time, and year-to-date is 2 minutes and 3 seconds, and then on scene is 7 minutes and 31 seconds. 67% are EMS calls, and the rest are fire and other issues. We received mutual aid 3 times this past month. We gave mutual aid to Seville once, Westfield once, Montville once, Medina Township once, and York Township once. I think I got this number. Yep, that's right. Yep, 2 times in the city, and City of Medina twice, my bad. So on April 14th and 15th and 16th, our department hosted around 60 children from Medina weekday preschool and their families. During the visit, the students and family learned about many fire safety initiatives and the importance of smoke alarms in your home. The children toured the station and had some great hands-on training from our dedicated team. We're still waiting on word if we were awarded the EMS Board Priority Grant in the amount of $30,000, so we're still waiting on that. Still waiting on word if we received the Firehouse Subs Grant in the amount of $10,369. So some department things, we started hydrants this past week, so you'll see us out there doing hydrant testing. Engine 2 was out of service at Fallsway for repairs of the fire pump again. So we had a 300 PSI sensor go bad, and Parker's fixed that. And there was also a 600 PSI sensor that was no good, so Fallsway repaired that. So haven't gotten the invoice on that yet, but I'll let you know. We've been training on rapid intervention with our surrounding departments and focusing on firefighter victim rescue for the months of April and May. And there's been some requests to possibly bring back the Explorers program. The Boy Scouts, it's Scouting USA now, it's called. The Explorer program was a thing way back at this department. There are Explorer posts at other fire departments in the county. But one of our local residents who's a firefighter, he wants to have a cloverleaf, possibly a cloverleaf like program, or a more cloverleaf than Medina, if possible. So just a request to explore that and kind of get that rolling again. There is funds available in the Firefighter Associations for the Explorers, so we potentially there would be no cost to the township. The volunteers would be firefighters and community members that are parent volunteers that have to be vetted through the Boy Scouts or the Scouting USA yearly. So there'd be processes in place. There's MOUs that we would have to agree upon and sign. But I'm just exploring it now, and no pun intended. And going out, I'm gonna actually go to a meeting. I met with the Explorers liaison, and she has some good advice, and I've got all the paperwork, and I was gonna go out to the scout troop in Westfield. 6 of their individuals already want to do this, and there might be some more,
So you said there are other departments in
Yep.
the county that do them, do you know?
Yeah, so Medina Fire Department that does one, which
Okay.
they've got a pretty good group. They meet probably once or twice a month.
Okay.
I believe Sharon Township has one. Valley City used to have one. I don't know if they still do. But yeah, they're around still. Yeah.
Okay. But there's nobody kind of on this side of
Nothing on the
Medina.
west side or southwest side of the county. So yeah.
Okay. Is it something you would see us potentially doing in conjunction with some of the other departments as well?
Absolutely, and I think it's a good opportunity because then you can actually bring those career center students in. and get to know them a little better. And it's a good tool to recruit and get those individuals after they graduate high school, potential applicants for jobs.
Alright, so you're gonna continue working on what would need to be done?
Yes.
In order to
Yeah.
bring it back, and then, okay.
Yeah, just wanted to let you know that that's happening, so.
Yeah, I don't know, I mean, I have no issue with looking at that, I mean, I don't know why we
No,
wouldn't
yeah,
encourage it.
I've had experience
Okay.
with it, that it's a good program,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's all
Yeah,
I have.
look forward to hearing back on that, chief, thank you.
Anything else?
Did you say how long Engine 2 will be out of service?
It's back.
Oh, it's
back
back,
in
okay.
service, so it's repaired.
Okay.
So Parker's, they just lost their mechanic retired, so they really aren't able to do big projects anymore, so we're probably gonna have to look at, there's Williams and, Brunswick, or there's, Fallsway and Cuyahoga Falls. And the nice thing about Fallsway is they come and pick up the truck for you and bring it back when it's done, so. Williams, we have to drive it to Brunswick, leave it there for a period of time, and that's the only, I mean.
Okay.
We'll continue to explore kind of best pricing, but, yeah, that's our only options at this time now, so. All right.
Thank you.
Thanks, chief. Lieutenant Wagner,
I don't have anything to add to the report.
any questions, guys?
Nope.
Thank you. So we're on to service.
Blue Technologies,
Oh, you know what, good call. Let's go back to fire real quick,
Yeah.
cause you mentioned wanting
Yeah,
to.
you know, we talked about it, I think, 2 meetings ago, and I just didn't, I just felt like it was kind of left open. Not sure, I think, well, I know that the fire department really doesn't have a desire to purchase it out of their budget. I guess we should find out what is the trade-in value, if we're gonna move forward with the township getting a new printer.
Sure, I
or
think,
scanner.
you know, again, I didn't get a formal from, Dan Brodnick, who's our Blue Technologies rep, but, I mean, he was pretty clear that, like, they have no interest in taking the older equipment back, just because of the way that their, program works, and kind of, they wouldn't have anywhere really to place it.
Got it.
So the question then obviously comes down to, you know, how does it work best
Yeah.
for the township, right? It's not a dire need, I don't think, for the township to replace it, but it is something that'll be on our horizon over the next couple of years.
Okay.
The question is, how much of a efficiency add is it for the fire district? I know, you know,
Yeah, Chief might be able to answer this better, but when I talked to him, he kinda needs a dedicated printer in his office because he's printing off
sure,
employee files with social security numbers and that personal information, sensitive information, so it's best that he doesn't print that in a central location and
yeah, that's
forget
fine.
it. So, Brian, I think you do most of the printing, don't you? Like,
Yeah, I would probably say I do most of the printing, and then there's like, Scott Overring also does like the personnel files, so he does some of the printing, it's either the main desk or my office. We have an old printer in the assistant chief's office, it's got some issues with it, that it prints funky, but, other than that, I mean, it's not a huge issue, I don't think we print a lot of stuff here. Like, we have a printer that KGC added to the, washroom years ago, and I don't replace that ink because I think it's abused, and no one's really complained about replacing the ink in there, so I think the issues of printing have kind of resolved themselves. I don't see many people printing a lot of stuff that they need to be printing. There's not really a need for it, at least for like the printing side, other than the administrative personnel, myself, Assistant Chief Holzman, and maybe Scott Overing, and that's really probably the 3 people that print the most materials.
So, I mean, I guess, based on that, I don't know what your,
Chris,
Like, do you need like one like is in the admin, or do you just need another printer?
No, we don't need, I mean, this is.
Because there's that one that was in the,
well, I think what we had originally talked
Yeah.
about was not so much that the fire department needed more printers as much as there was the possibility to consolidate
Yeah.
outside of chief's office,
Mm-hmm.
the rest of the printing needs of the department could be handled through one machine, which would give some more control too over, you know, we talked about
Yeah, like
two or
putting
three
out-
different types of print cartridges and constantly needing to buy those and then, you know,
Well,
kind of
and because if
managing.
you had that one that's at the admin, it'd be easy for you to scan stuff and all that.
There are some added benefits, but I guess what I'm hearing, and I don't wanna put words in your mouth, but, you know, there's probably not enough of a benefit to justify an additional cost to the fire district, so the question now comes, does the township, you know, do we need to do something? And I don't know where you guys are, I mean, just, cause I do have it here, if we were going to replace the, I think I stuck it in here, yeah, if we were gonna replace the, current machine that we have down there now, the purchase price is $5,023.64. And then it'd be on the same type of plan where, you know, they send us, they monitor it, they send us the replacement cartridges, they service it if it's needed. And they guarantee you know, they have a 7-year reliability pledge so that, you know, if there are any mechanical issues. The question is, does the township need to replace that right now? I don't know that we do. We would save some, you know, the current print costs are about twice what the new machine would be. You know, but we're still talking about probably less than $50 a month in savings, so, you know, I guess I could see it going either way, but maybe
Do we
kick
know
this
how
down the road a
old-
year.
Yeah, do we know how old the current machine is?
Wait, hold on, let's
And
see.
did that have a 7-year?
Yeah, we're out of that.
Okay.
I
At
wanna
least
say-
two.
I wanna say it's,
At
least
least
that-
two, because it's been there since I've been there.
yeah,
Two
well,
thousand twenty-one, it says
Mm.
here, that we bought and purchased and then.
is that what he gave us? Yeah, so it's a little, well, so it's still in there 5 years, but I'd have to, there are 5-year pledges on the new machine, or there are 7-year pledges on the new machine. We'd have to go back and see what
The pledge
what it was when we bought it.
Okay.
But, you know, yeah, and that's where I was coming with, when we talked about the useful life of it and whether or not there was any value. Internally, it would just be an accounting issue if we were gonna do anything like that. Not that it's a requirement, I guess, where I'm at is just probably something that's maybe not pressing right this minute.
Yeah.
Maybe kick it off till next year.
I think we do.
Review it again
Wait till
maybe
next
then.
year, yeah. Like the amount that we would save in the lower print costs isn't gonna justify.
Well, and Chief can keep an eye on it this year too, and we can better track kind of, you know, if we really are spending a couple $100 a year on print or on ink that we can
Right.
save, then maybe that changes the math a little bit.
Right.
And then could we give Chief the other printer then, so he can have it in his office, the one
Well, he's got one already, right?
Yeah, I've
you have
got
a
one
pr-
that
yeah, we're-
scans, it's attached to my computer, so it scans right into it's nice. I mean,
So you
works
have
We don't need
pretty
any
well.
additional print capability up here, it was about consolidating, you
Yeah,
Oh,
know,
okay.
and not having 4 different,
We
you know,
have
3 or 4
plenty
different
of,
machines. Yeah,
like,
Older
inkjet,
printers.
yeah, printers.
Okay. We'll
Alright.
push it out to 2027 and revisit it then.
Yeah, I think that's probably the best way to go. Alright,
Okay.
so now we're on to service.
okay, so our service director is on vacation, and Ben had a meeting that clashed with it tonight, so I will be reading the service report for today. On their roads, they performed weekly road inspections, they installed and replaced some missing street signs. They completed yearly stormwater outfall inspections and attended a safety council meeting. They washed the equipment and maintained preventative maintenance and repairs to equipment, keeping the garages clean, town hall clean, and stocking with supplies. They also mowed the admin and service garage property. They removed debris and emptied garbage cans at the park. And then for the Saxton cemeteries, 2 grave plots were sold and 2 columbarium niches at Waltz Cemetery as well. On his action points, he would like to discuss hiring back the worker Tim McGill, and to discuss a no parking sign at Wycliffe Drive at the dead end, and discuss purchasing a new laser transit. I think you got the emails everyone did for that. I don't know whether that falls more under zoning though, Justin, with the signs. when I talked with Matt at
It
length
wouldn't
with
be-
it.
No, I mean, it would still be something that, if we're gonna, it's more traffic control roads, you know, whether or not we're gonna put anywhere, we discussed kind of in the same concept as
Right.
that no parking area that we did last year on that
On
stretch
Hooper
of
Drive.
Hooper Drive,
Yeah.
right? So it's the same type of thing, we would need action by the board if we were gonna institute any, type of no parking. I'm sure, and again, I don't wanna be quoted on this part of it, but I would imagine that that's one of those ones that falls under, we'll need an actual resolution to
Yeah.
pass. So we'd have to double check just to make sure that we've got that correct, so that it's done properly there. The question I think came up was, there had originally been a sign that was placed there for no parking on the bike trail.
Cause it was a bike trail one.
But I think that was probably put there by the park department beforehand.
What does he say? Yeah, it must be, cause it said the park, and the engineer's shop.
Yeah, it's unclear on who put this on
Yeah,
up there initially,
But Rick
just,
removed it a few
yeah.
years ago, it says. But something to discuss at the next meeting, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I guess my only thought on it is I know that one of the issues that, was brought up in the email exchange, that Matt had highlighted was the fact that, you know, parking during snow restricted events gets to be difficult, but we already have
Oh, no parking.
a parking
Yeah.
ban in place, so I don't know that we would want to do, you know, additional no parking at all times for that. Especially since, I mean, it disproportionately affects just the people that kind of live at that end of, you know, the rest of the development, they can park in front of their driveway, they have company over. Yeah, so I don't know, like,
I
I
think what
just didn't
Matt's issue
understand
was
what the
is because
concern.
when they were ploughing, they couldn't turn the plough around because the cars were there, even though they weren't, and they were calling Medina PD, reporting the vehicles to get that removed, and Matt said, it's almost to the point now when you're calling them 2 or 3 times a day, cause he keeps parking it there, maybe that's a conversation.
How do you
Matt
guys
and I-
normally, not to put you on the spot there, Lieutenant Wagner, but how do you guys normally handle, you know, somebody that's parked in during like a snow restricted
violating the snow ban
event?
part.
If they're violating the snow ban that you guys have,
Yeah,
we get issued a citation. If we need to move them, we'll try to call the owner and ask him to move.
do you, and maybe this is a question, for the prosecutor's office, but what is the, that would probably be on us to have them towed, or is that something that you guys,
We
If-
wouldn't be able to tow them.
you wouldn't be able to?
No, not for a parking violation.
Okay. But then we'd be back in the same boat anyway, if we just put a no parking sign there, if they violate it, it's still just a citation issue.
Mm.
And
It
not
might be a
removal. So,
conversation with the resident then that we have.
I
to
think
say,
that's a
"Hey,
good
during
place
the snow
to-
time, be mindful that the plough can't turn down here.
cause I get the feeling the resident isn't necessarily keen on the
No,
no
he doesn't,
parking
yeah, he
signs,
doesn't.
it's that it's impeding us during plowing.
Yeah,
But I think there's potentially a better way. I know Matt was out there to talk to him
yeah,
anyway, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's probably the place to start, but we should probably take a look at, you know, what our authority is in those types of situations.
Yeah.
Because again, it is difficult for those guys to get out there, and the streets are already difficult enough in a lot of the developments to navigate with the plows, especially the larger equipment. And when you have people parking.
and it's
When they should be,
a complete dead end, so there's no swing
Okay.
for him. Okay, so I'll talk with Matt once he's back from vacation on that one
Okay.
then, and we'll get with him. And then Matt sent us the quotes for the laser, you saw the 2 quotes that he sent out to us.
Yes.
They would like to discuss buying a new laser to help with the ditches, the technicalities of it all, I don't know what the difference is between them, even when I was looking at the invoices, the estimate, sorry, and I asked Ben, and Ben said it's down to, what did he say? I think it was, the removal of the HLL 60 from laser swap to a CR 700. The cost difference though would be roughly about $230 is. But both quotes come over the 3,000 mark, hence why he's come to us for it. But I don't know how you guys feel about purchasing a new one. We've had this one, I think the old one now, they've had it since, I can't remember the year he said it was purchased in. It's the technology is dated in it, so it's making it harder to process and things. But I said I would discuss it with you. If we want to consider this and then discuss it the next meeting, we can do. Or-
Yeah, I wish Matt was here to answer.
I know, that's what I
questions,
said.
you know. As far as the different models, like the cost difference isn't very much, and I think that if we do move forward with a new laser, that the old one, he said, is being discontinued, so
Yeah.
I don't think we should waste money on something that's being discontinued for a couple $100 or whatever it is, but I would like to understand from him a little bit more of why we need a new laser and how often it's gonna be used.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think if we can each have an opportunity to maybe talk with Matt a little bit more at length,
Yeah.
when he gets back from vacation before the next meeting.
yeah. Yeah, no, because when I talked with Matt, we in our last meeting with them, because we've got a lot more ditch work to do because it's kind of been neglected for a while. So Matt was saying, you know, the projects that they've got going forward, they want to get them done. So I will tell him, you'll chat with him
Okay.
on that one.
And then we'll be ready to hopefully make a decision on that at the next meeting.
Yeah.
Alright, so that'll be on the 26th. Before we move back up to the seasonal employment, along those lines, cause you mentioned, you know, the $3,000 threshold, I think, you know, we've talked about like the purchasing authority and stuff like that in the past, and it's not, you know, Chief had brought it up too when we were talking about like how we do the budgeting and the appropriations, and not needing board approval for like every pack of paper or pens. But I do wanna be careful in this idea that like, you know, then that just means kinda anybody can do anything, cause that's not really the idea either, at least that wasn't mine, so I don't wanna speak for everybody, but, have we, and maybe this is an opportunity for us to maybe better define what we're expecting here, right? The example being, you know, we did, when we were doing our budgeting, Matt had mentioned, you know, needing to replace some of the tools.
Mhm.
Some of the smaller hand tools and stuff like that. Obviously, we don't want him coming in here and saying, I need to go buy a $20 hammer. You know, that's a
Right.
bit ridiculous, but there is also a level of oversight that needs to be done. We set a budget for that. Do we know, is Matt keeping a solid spreadsheet or some way of knowing exactly what we've approved for tools and maintenance and what, you know, what he can actually,
I think he's got his
Spend.
budget, yeah, I think he has got what's been bought so far this year, what's left.
okay. Cause maybe that's something that we can maybe have him incorporate, obviously not the whole financial report of the township, right? That's not his job, or even necessarily everything, but maybe, incorporate within the monthly service department report, kind of where he's at on that. I know we get an idea with the financial reports that Sherry presents to us, the money that's already gone out, the checks that we signed, stuff like that, but if there's potentially something that's in transit that maybe he's wanted to purchase, or just so that we have a little more visibility of that. And the reason I bring that up is because, you know, we've got an invoice here from Cintas, and I meant to bring it up during the financials, but it's probably better to talk about this in here. We had some safety stations, whatever you call
First
them,
aid kits.
first aid
Yeah.
kits
Yeah.
installed, and I don't know that was really anything that we had ever discussed. It wasn't a huge purchase. I think it, you know, again, was something that was well needed and is good to have. But we're now in this point where Cintas is coming in and restocking all of the items. I mean, to the point where, you know, chewable aspirin, cough drops at $20 a pack for cough drops. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know.
I think Matt has stopped them doing that. That was one
Okay.
thing, because he flagged that, and him and I had a conversation about that, and he said that's not something we wanted. We just wanted a first aid
Yeah,
kit.
absolutely.
We don't need it restocked every couple of weeks and then costing the township money. Matt
Well, I think
said
for
he
some of those things, we could probably order on
just
Amazon.
go down. That's
yeah.
it, and that's what it is. So I think that
Okay.
that has been ended, but I will double check
If
with
you could
Matt.
confirm,
Yeah, just to
and
make sure.
and see if
yeah.
and see if we can get him to incorporate. Because I mean, that's another thing where like Kristen does a lot of the office supply ordering for us and stuff like that, and I don't know that we've
I,
ever given her the proper guidance
well,
either.
I have everything that I order, I mark, like when I print out the invoice, the receipt or invoicing for Sherry to put in her door, I'll write if it's for zoning, service, events on there. So everything should have a department of where she knows that money should be coming out of.
Right, and
Yeah.
and that's why I didn't wanna present that in a way that it's, I don't think you're doing what needs to be done, but we've kind of earmarked a certain amount for office supplies, and then I think
Yeah.
some of that comes back to, well, just tell Kristen to order it, but if you're not, if we
Yeah,
haven't
well, yeah,
asked
cause
you
I
to
don't
track-
know exactly if
Right.
he spent, I'm not tracking that, that's Sherry.
Right,
So,
and that's where we should probably, you and I can maybe sit down
Okay.
and kind of go through that. I don't think it'll be super cumbersome, but it's a good idea because, you know, as it stands right now, if, there's no way that we catch it until the back end, right?
Yeah.
Like if, and I don't mean to pick on Karen, but since she's not here, she's gonna get it. But like if Karen comes to you, you know, and says, hey, zoning needs whatever, you're just gonna order it, cause that's kind of where we
Yeah.
set it. But if we aren't kind of tracking that in real time, then we aren't, that's the missing step, right? Not
Okay.
so much that we want,
Yeah.
and if you guys disagree,
No, no.
let me know, but it's not that we necessarily wanna see every one of those here, but we need to have the right,
We
like-
need, we need to have a variance analysis,
Right.
basically, how much have we spent, how much have we
Right.
budgeted, how much is left to spend
Mhm.
before we just start ordering stuff.
Yeah.
right,
Yeah, and that's something we could make, you know, expenses spreadsheet, and every time somebody asks me to order something, I
Yeah.
can,
And
you know,
then
we
we-
have the budget and I can minus out every single
and
time.
when it's starting to be an issue or, you know, whatever, then it can
Yeah.
be, hey, this is something that needs to be, you
Yeah,
know, escalated or reviewed at a meeting.
Yeah, but I don't think we wait till it gets close to being a zero balance, I think
No.
at
Yeah,
Well, and
certain
that's something-
intervals, or even monthly or something, we come back and say, hey, this is how much we had budgeted, this is how much we spent, this is how much we have left, that way you can manage.
Right.
And especially like 6 months into it, are we halfway, you know, have we spent half of it, or have we spent 90% of it? Like, if we've spent 90% in 6 months, then we really need to
right,
tighten up the belt.
or at least understand why, you
Yeah.
know, is there
Yeah.
something, have we purchased what we need to get through the year?
Yeah.
Agreed.
Mhm.
Okay, so, if you can work on just incorporating that with Matt on that side of things, Chief already does it on the fire district budget. Kristen, you and I can sit down, you know, next week
Cause
or
then we
so.
can do the OneDrive share too,
Yep.
and
perfect.
everybody can see it.
Excellent, okay. Alright, sorry, I didn't mean to
Okay,
hijack
no,
that.
no, you're good. Do you wanna do seasonal
Yeah.
worker next?
Mhm.
Do you want executive session, or are you happy with out here?
Well, I mean, Tim's been back for
He's
as
been
long as
with
I can
us for a
remember,
long
so I
time.
mean, I'm assuming, and maybe I should, but I'm assuming similar setup to what we've done.
Exactly the same thing, he'll be doing, the roadsides,
Right, mowing on the
mowing, yeah,
ditches
and
stuff
then
like
any additional help when
Occasional
they're doing any other projects, like when, I know they're doing tree removals, that's Ben's thing right now, is they're chipping away at a lot of the things they've gotta do. So having the help when they need the extra hand from maybe the flagger for, on the streets and things, but yeah, doing the same thing he's always done.
So do we have a proposed hourly rate?
No, we don't. Last year, when I looked on the system, he was on $21 an hour at that point last year.
How many hours a week?
It kind of varies. I don't think he's ever been anything fixed as such. And as a seasonal worker, they're not tied to the same as a full-time person, a part-time person is. I think it's just however long he just gets in the tractor and goes. But I don't know how many hours he does. I haven't seen, because of the reports are so from last year, not being in office, I can't see how many hours he kind of did really to know.
Well, I
And Matt
know-
wasn't here to know.
Well, I think we do need to put, you know, kind of an average out, like,
Yeah,
I mean, we need a budgetary,
yeah, that's
number
it, yeah. No, and it was on his discussion point, and I said I would talk about it with you guys, and then we'll make a decision as to what we want to do. I will find from Cherry then how many hours maybe he did last season to kind of roughly
well,
work out,
I'm more interested in what,
and the pay.
you know, we just brought Tyler on, he starts Thursday.
Yeah.
So I mean, we will be up to a full crew of 3, that's not to say that Tim isn't beneficial or help, needed during the summer, but I would like a better understanding of how many hours,
Yeah,
and then also what we're paying, cause, off the top of my head, I don't recall what he was at, I think it was, I don't think the 21, but maybe that's right, but I do think we wanna put, some sort of like targeted
yeah,
hours maximum for them, cause again, I think we're doing well with the service department budget, especially since we,
Several months without it.
Right.
Yeah.
but we also don't wanna just
pay
leave it,
for,
leave
yeah,
it
So-
open,
yeah.
So
open-ended.
Carrie, what I would probably wanna also know is when would he start and when would he be done? When's the season end? When would he be done at the end of the year? Like September
Yeah.
1st or September
Yeah.
30th?
Well, so, yeah, beginning a start date then,
Yeah,
and we can do that
Yeah.
as well, yeah.
And then average number of
I
hours?
suppose it kind of works as well with the weather, doesn't it, if we
Did,
get
Yeah.
Yeah, and did Matt give you an idea of when he wanted to start?
I think he was looking at when, by the time he gets back from vacation, which is the end of the month, so I think we got, when's the next meeting?
Next meeting will be on the 25th,
Yeah,
or
so
26th, sorry.
I'll get with Ben and
Mhm.
probably talk with Ben more, because Ben will know how many hours he roughly did last time anyway. And we'll have an idea of those things, so Ben and I will work on that, and then we'll have it ready for when Matt's return.
Okay, so we'll discuss that again on the 26th, okay. And then if for some reason we absolutely need to, we can always do a special meeting for that one item, but, if there is a need.
Yeah,
Anything else for service?
yes, I'm just writing these down so I
Okay.
don't forget them, hang on. Okay. And then, we had a check that, we had for discussion, which was for Albright.
Yep.
Which was for the Ballish Road, culvert project that the county have, helped facilitate with us. I know that you've spoken to the prosecutor's office and, had a conversation on it. The project to go ahead, we have to sign that check, otherwise they will withdraw the monies and end the project for us. So I had a conversation with Jen today again, to make sure that, that's definitely what they want to do or not, and she said, are we gonna be signing the check or not, because if not, then the county will take the monies away from us and allocate that to another project if need be. Which would be taking, I think it's $93,000 of the OPW funds. And then for the Albright check, we will be receiving 74.1% back on it, so the township will be paying $56.90 technically out of that, because we'll get reimbursed on it. But she wanted to know whether or not we wanted to go ahead with the project, and if need be, if we will sign the check. I understand your position from conversations with her with the wording of the document.
Well, and I guess I wanna correct one thing, I spoke with Andy Conrad briefly about it.
Right.
I did not reach out to the prosecutor's office, I was under the impression that you or Matt were taking care of
We did,
that
yes,
part of it.
we did.
Well, did the prosecutor's office offer any guidance?
They did. They said that the wording is the way, and they showed me other examples through the county. The legal way of wording it is how it's worded, as in
Okay. Did they provide any guidance in writing?
no. She
Okay.
said to me that it's just how it's worded, and they wouldn't change the wording on that document for us, because it then would make it an illegal document.
They drafted the document, and they won't provide, I guess I just struggle, and I don't want this to, it's not an argument with you, it's, we've routinely been told, to get the opinions, and this is a conversation I had with Forrest and with Mike Lyons in Forrest Thompson's office about legal opinions and getting things in writing. And here, we're deviating from that, and it doesn't, this is essentially a bill to the county. Like, and the conversation I had with, Andy Conrad was that I understand completely, there's plenty of things that we do as a pass-through, where we'll pay something and then we bill a resident or we bill another entity, and this should ultimately be the same thing. I'm not interested in blowing up the project, but I find it very concerning that our prosecutor's office won't give written guidance, and that the paperwork isn't matching the paper trail. We're now going to have an audit where we're gonna pay an invoice that does not list us as the person that's supposed to be paying it. And if it was as clean as they're saying, why aren't they just putting that in writing, you know? Why won't the prosecutor's office put it in writing that says that this is just the way that it is?
I don't, did you ask him to put it in writing? I don't know that you asked him, did you?
No, I didn't
Yeah,
ask them to
so-
do it in writing.
So my understanding is all highway projects are listed, that the county engineer is listed as the
Mhm.
party, the interested party, but it still falls to the trustee. The township, I mean, not the trustees, but the township.
Right, so I guess my point though is why
Why
doesn't
don't
the
they make it
paperwork
to
match
the
that?
township?
You know, or
Right.
why don't they pay it, and
This-
then they bill us for plenty of other things, there are plenty of times where we pay the county, you know, where they withhold funds or whatnot, right?
Right.
So I don't know where. Clearly don't wanna hold the project up.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I mean, this is definitely one of those ones that, you know, to me, seems like it's the whole, you know, just do it. Who cares if it's the right way to do things or not?
When I
And that
talked
doesn't
to-
sit
well,
well with
yeah,
me.
no, it's not a matter of that, it's, I talked to Dan Becker, and he said that that's how the county does all these contracts. It's always made out to the county engineer, but the township makes the payment. He said he could provide hundreds of different examples of this, how it's written, and every single one is written as the county being the interested party, and the township pays the bill. I also agree with, I mean, the other point is, like Carrie said, that we're being reimbursed 70-some percent, 75%
Sure,
almost.
And that's why I wanna be very careful about this.
Yeah.
I don't have any issue with the project, I don't have any issue with the way things are done. You know, there are two things that always trouble me. This is the way that it's always been done,
Right.
which is usually said for a reason.
Yeah.
And the fact that nobody will put anything in writing that says that, you know. At the end of the day, it's a $219.67 check. So, you know, I guess the risk that everybody up here takes is, you know, if the auditor comes back and says, this isn't your bill, you know, everybody at this table should understand that we might be splitting this bill. And do I think that'll come to be the way that it is done? No, I don't think it will, but I've also seen enough from the way that the audit process is used, and when they decide to issue findings of recovery, they are not always consistent with past practices, and it's the way that it's always been done, won't cover it. So, you know, from that standpoint, no, I don't think this is the right way to do it. No, I don't think anybody's doing their job correctly at the county level. But because of the benefit to the township, I'm not gonna hold up a project that might mean that I wind up covering part of a 219 bill that we shouldn't have paid. So for that, I guess at this point, if you guys wanna, well, with that, I'll make the motion to approve it. Check number 37784, $218.67, for the easement for, what's the property address on here?
Just list a parcel,
Did they list the parcel?
I don't know.
6570 Balance Road. Yeah, they didn't even list the parcel. So, I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. One second. When do they need this by, Carrie?
I've got to send it in tomorrow.
Okay, well, do me a favor, sign that, make sure the rest of it goes back to Sherry. Do you wanna take just the check?
Yeah.
make sure that they get this, right?
Yeah, I'll go up to them and
Thank you.
hand deliver it to Jen. So on the same subject then, we have a resolution to, with accepting and awarding the replacement for the culvert of number 31 on the Ballish Road in Lafayette Township. There is a resolution that I put together for it. Did everyone get to read it? Any issues with it? Anyone saw anything?
Look pretty straightforward.
Okay, do you want it read for the record or?
You don't need to read the whole thing, but
No.
if you wanna give an overview of it and then make the motion.
Okay, so they put a bid out on our behalf. The bid was awarded to Denny's Concrete for the price of $131,103.24. On the back we have the exhibit that goes with it with the details, and this is for the project that will be for I think it's 5 of our roads within the township, and this is a chip seal project for it. I will make a motion then for the resolution of accepting the award of the replacement for the culvert number 31 on Ballish Road and Lafayette Township for the Medina County Engineers.
I'll second.
Roll call?
Belisle, yes?
Kittle, yes.
Paroli, yes.
Thank you.
Yep, I updated it. You're good.
And that is it for service.
For zoning, for the month of April, we had 13 permits issued, mostly smaller deck, fence, pool type additions, $871 in total fees. Continuing to work through a couple of zoning enforcement issues. Did just swear in Tim Hughes and Kate Coe, our new zoning commission, full member and alternate tonight as well, so they're doing their first meetings. Two things to discuss, and I guess they kind of go hand in hand to get you guys' thoughts. Obviously, with the workload that's in front of them, getting responses sometimes from the prosecutor's office can be a bit challenging if it's something that's time sensitive. In the past, we have engaged outside counsel. Bill Thorne has helped us in the past with some different zoning related type issues. The reason that I bring that up is we have a couple of potential enforcement issues. We have 2 properties that currently look to have constructed homes without going through the permitting process. One seems to have been going on for 20 plus years because of the location of the building and not being visible from the road. It looks like it escaped detection until the county auditor had caught it during some of the reappraisal stuff. That's when that one was brought to our attention. But ultimately, that's gonna be more than a simple letter enforcement type issue. And then we have what looks to be an ag exemption that does not meet ag exemption standards. What was supposed to be an ag exempt barn looks like it's either some sort of commercial warehouse or barn dominium, living quarters potentially, but either way, it would be something that would fall under ag exempt. So we may need to look at either trying to engage the prosecutor's office in both of those. I've had preliminary conversations, actually dating back to towards the end of last year with the prosecutor's office. The reception wasn't real warm, that it's something that they wanna get involved in. I don't know where it stands, if it's something where, I don't know what our grounds are to be able to force them to do that if they choose not to, even though it's our prerogative on how we enforce zoning. So, I guess the question there is, do we wanna potentially consider either Mr. Thorne or potentially looking at additional outside counsel to help with some of these zoning concerns?
The house that was built, or I assume it was a house, the property that was built without a permit, does it fit the zoning code?
No.
Okay.
It is a second house on a property that there are no records of us ever having permitted, though the county did issue a building permit after the fact, over our objections.
Okay.
So, it's, my guess is, especially in that scenario, that the county prosecutor will recuse himself from being involved on either side, because it's gonna probably be it'll be a discussion to be had on how far, and we're probably premature on having the discussion of how far we wanna go with doing it, but we're probably gonna want some sort of legal opinion on
Yeah.
what our enforcement opportunity, or our enforcement, options are on that. You know, and like I said, Bill's worked with us before.
Right.
I did have a very brief conversation with him just to even see, since he's retired, you know, for the most part, if he'd be interested. He did express, you know, a willingness, even a little bit reluctantly maybe, to come back, but I didn't wanna go too far in those conversations until talking to the two of you about whether or not you'd even wanna consider something like that, or if you want to open up the opportunity and potentially look at, you know, other attorneys that might be able to assist us. I'm not
Yeah,
necessarily
I don't
looking for a
know.
decision right now,
What
but
would his fee be? Because I think that's gonna be the
we-
thing, how much we've got in the budget for it.
$250 an hour, which for the legal services is probably extremely reasonable, given what we're
That's how
doing.
much Bill would charge.
Bill would charge us $250 an hour at this point. You know, and I do think that, you know, we could probably, the one advantage is, he is familiar enough with our zoning code that he's not gonna have to spend a lot of time
Yeah.
getting up to speed on that. We could probably work with Bill, you know, I guess, just in this little bit we've been talking about here too. My thoughts would be we could potentially use him to maybe help give us some, like a legal assessment. Like, here's what you're looking, like, to even weigh into whether, and he's not gonna charge us like any type of retainer, any type of minimum. You know, if he can come in, give us some assistance and some guidance, and put together a, hey, here's where you're at, here's where your code kinda allows you to enforce, and here's what your, I guess, decision paths are, and he can do that in a handful of hours, I don't think we'll find a more economical way of doing it. So I mean, we could always potentially consider 10-hour, you know, like, approving 10 hours, up to 10 hours to maybe assess these situations from a legal standpoint and be able to write a report or present something to the board about what we're gonna do, what we can do. Cause like I said, I think, you know, again, Nick, you've got a little bit more experience than trustee Villar does with zoning, but like, you know, so correct me on any of this that you disagree with. You know, some of these enforcement ones, some of them are very clean, you know, on the rules, and other ones get pretty sticky, not only from a standpoint of there is some ambiguity in any zoning code, and two, some of it becomes how much of a legal battle does the township wanna entertain, you know, especially in situations that are, you know, after the fact type enforcement, cause it's not like, these are the ones of building in process, but the ones, you know, completely completed.
So did the building department give a certificate of occupancy?
I do not believe, no, cause you're talking about the one with the two.
Oh, yeah, if it,
He does not, no. Well, actually, I don't believe either of them have a certificate of occupancy. The one building isn't even done, so he wouldn't be at that point either. The other one, I think, you know, they went and got septic installed, they got a permit for it, they were granted that, but I don't think
So,
he got a
yeah.
building permit at the county level at all. It was an ag exempt building that they just
so
built
the
whatever they
ag
wanted.
exempt building, I think they should, I mean, this is my opinion, they should have to apply for a new use. Like, before, it was an agricultural use. Now, if they wanna use it for something other than agricultural use, they have to apply for a permitted use.
Right. No,
So I don't know how complicated that one would be,
it's,
but a lot of times with
it
an ag
violates
exemption.
it violates any setbacks.
Yeah, that's,
It's built in rural residential, but no matter what the use is and no matter what it is, I wanna say, it looks, and we haven't been able to be on the property because there's no way to get on the property, but from the looks of it, he's like 10 feet off his property line. And there's no structure within our zoning code in the general rural residential area that you can build 10 feet off your
yeah.
property line. So not only, I mean, he may not be violating use, right? Like, if he built a residence on a residential property,
Mhm.
there's nothing that says you can't, but he didn't meet the setback
But
requirements,
that-
which are not gonna be an
Yeah,
issue.
but that building was not approved
Correct.
it was approved as a agricultural use, not as a
Well, and here,
accessory building
I do believe we had an ag exempt certificate that was filled out originally. I do recall seeing it. It is not currently in the file. So, and there's nothing that requires you to fill
But
out.
the use changed, it sounds like.
An ag exemption doesn't require any type of.
I know, yeah.
Okay.
But if it was used as an ag
Correct.
exempt building,
Then he would be fine.
but now he wants to use it for something else.
Well, he doesn't want, that's the sticking point. He's not.
He's still claiming that
He's
it's
not, no, he's
ag-
not communicating,
Okay,
period.
okay.
You know, he's just kinda done whatever he's wanted to do.
Yeah,
You know,
okay.
but like I said, he's got a septic
Yeah.
permit. You know, put in a pretty substantial driveway, gated entrance, fence,
Okay.
nothing's permitted.
So I see where you're coming from as far as the county prosecutor's probably gonna try to stay away from it because they're caught between two different.
Well, that's that's actually the other building.
Yeah, the other building.
The other building is the one where the county did go ahead and after the fact issued him a building permit for what he'd already done. But,
I thought the building department couldn't issue a permit until they got a zoning permit.
that's what I thought too.
So with those, are we talking 10 hours for both properties, or are we splitting
I
10
think-
and another, you know?
I think we could easily cover the issues that we have with outlines from Bill on what our options are, or maybe what his recommendations are, both from like what's legally practical and what, you know, what we can entertain, within that 10 hours before we make any further commitment. You know, but I do think that they're both big enough issues that it's probably worth
Yeah.
at least considering. These have been ongoing, so if we don't make a decision tonight, you know, waiting until the 26th or 25th,
Or
26th,
26.
we keep going back and forth, but 14 days, 12.
Yeah, yeah.
So we can discuss it again, you know, more there, but I wanted to at least start the conversation on those two, because I didn't know how much up to speed either of you were on either of those.
Is one of those properties the one that a resident came and spoke about at the meeting last year?
Correct.
Okay, I know the property then.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, there was some
So-
issue with some aggregate that
Yeah.
had been dumped and some runoff issues, and there are some neighbor issues on those properties.
Okay. So you're gonna reach out to Bill Thorne and see.
Well, as of right now, I'll just hold off, because I've opened up the dialogue on that. I may speak to him briefly and just make sure that my
Yes.
assessment is correct, that
Okay.
type of a commitment is good, and then if
Yeah.
you guys can kinda just maybe talk to Karen,
Mhm.
she can give you a good rundown on what's going on. Obviously, Tom's been brought up to speed, because a lot of these issues predate him as well, so talk to Tom as well, if you can over the next 2 weeks, and then kinda just get a good feeling of, you know, how you wanna do with those two. The other thing that we need to discuss, in my opinion, is, there's a property over on Polka Road, which, I don't know if you guys have been copied, I know that the neighbor tends to reach out more to me. I would imagine if you haven't already, you will start hearing from the neighbor, but it's, that's another one of those ones, longstanding, you know,
Yeah.
they've been in numerous times over the years. I wanna say this goes back probably 4 or 5, maybe even 6 years, to when the property was originally purchased in 2020. There had been a fire on the property last fall, and the cleanup has been, almost non-existent. A lot of just moving the junk and the debris around after we were out there, and the neighbors, you know, have asked for some assistance. The owner of the property has indicated the intention to build, you know, and you know, present or apply for a zoning permit, but outside of I'm planning on doing it, nothing's happened, you know, for a significant period of time. Where that would be is it would potentially, if we go down this path, I think we talked about this very briefly in one of the previous meetings, it would be another potential nuisance cleanup. But before kind of jumping the gun, I wanted to do you guys know the
I know
property
the
that we're
I
talking about?
don't, yeah, I had a look at it
Okay.
recently, yeah.
So the question is, you know, if there's no appetite for potentially doing it, then let's just squash it. If you guys, having seen the property and being familiar with it, you know, if you agree that it's potentially potentially something that we wanna review for whether it falls under a nuisance cleanup situation. We would have to have a public hearing in the future, we have to notify the homeowner, we'll have to have a public hearing. We can kind of start that process, and then I can also work with our service department. I do think that it's one that we could potentially handle cleanup in-house, or at least oversee the majority of it to keep the costs down for both the township and for everybody involved. But I do think we need to start kind of looking at that situation a little more seriously than what's been done in the past. Thoughts?
I think when I went through it and had a look, I know one of the concerns has been that the soil might be contaminated, which then is a hazard to the residents next door as well, to them, the neighbour who's got the issues. I do think it's something we need to take action on. And reading through the past paperwork and things on it.
So the property owner has expressed an interest to develop the land, but hasn't taken action on it?
Correct, he has, and this predates the fire, he had been working with our previous zoning inspector on potentially modifications to, it was just an outbuilding, there was a garage, shop on the property. There were questions over, residency or occupancy and stuff like that, there was a bunch of back and forth about that. But the latest concern is post-fire, there's a lot of debris, there's a lot of potentially contaminants on the property, that may not have been handled properly. There's a half burned out porta toilet, that's missing the side of the wall that,
From the fire?
but the claim is that it's still being used regularly, so I mean, it's a tough situation for the neighbors surrounding, and, I think it's definitely something that falls potentially within, our nuisance debris and material, so it's something that I think, like I said, I don't wanna jump the gun,
Mhm.
but that's why there's a hearing process the way that there is, for both of these, or for both sides of a situation like that, right?
Has Tom or Karen or anybody talked to the property owner, like, to get information, or?
Yeah, there have been some dialogue back and forth, and there's been plenty of talk about getting it cleaned up, but, Chief, do you remember off the top of your head how long ago that fire was?
It was winter, was it?
October?
It was October?
It was either late summer or
August or
fall.
September.
Yeah. August, September,
Yeah.
so either way, it's been 6
Been a
months.
year.
Yeah, or more, yeah.
So it's been I'm gonna clean it up, I'm gonna clean it up. Some, maybe a handful of things have been removed from the property, but most of it is just kind of moved around into different places.
I noticed that, yeah, I saw.
So, whether it's, junk vehicles, pieces, parts of, that, there are a couple of kind of, those soft-sided, outbuildings that get
Yeah.
thrown up, housing stuff, but again, things that wouldn't, they more than likely would not, pass any type of permitting process within our current zoning code, so,
Yeah,
it's,
I don't even know if that
The
lot's
motorhome there too.
large enough.
yeah.
There is not big.
Large
Burned
enough
out.
to build on, is it? I don't think it's too big.
Well, it would probably fall under pre-existing non-conforming, but no, I think you're right, I think it is actually technically under the 2 acres, but because of the fact that it
It was split before.
split
Yeah.
before, he could build, and I think that's the thing, that's where I'm at with it, as far as the whole, you wanna give people an opportunity to resolve it,
Yeah.
but there's not seemed to be any movement in the last 6 months, so short of some sort of intervention by the township, or at least considering that option, I don't see that situation resolving itself on its own.
So you guys have obviously, you've been more involved in that situation. I've only been on the board for a couple months now, but, we did just go through winter, it's kind of difficult to
Yep.
clean stuff up in the winter when stuff's frozen. I don't know, what would be your recommendation?
Well, I think what we do is we reach out to, I think we consider, we have to give him, I believe it's at least a 15-day notice, it might be a 30-day notice, so I apologize for not having the exact dates, but I think we need to give him at least 15 days legally, and publish a hearing. So what I would suggest at this point is that we look at the calendar, we make sure that it's done properly. I don't wanna rush this in any way, shape, or form, but look at setting maybe a public hearing for the end of June. Give him an opportunity, we'll have to give him proper notice that we're doing this. You know, if he cleans the property or resolves it to the point where, you know, it's not an issue, then there's no point. If we hold a public hearing, mid to late June, we'd be looking at probably late July before we could even start actually doing a cleanup. You know, I might be being a little conservative on the time frame, but realistically, that's kind of the reason for maybe starting the process earlier than later, is because if we wait too long and give too much of an opportunity, if we do ultimately have to go to the step of cleaning up the property, you know, then we might be looking at late fall, early winter before we complete the process, and make sure, because again, we're not recommending or not advocating in any way, shape, or form to violate anybody's property rights or anything along those lines, but, you know, I do think that, you know, some of the people that are living in close proximity to this property have valid concerns that the township should look at as well. And that's why, again, a public hearing would give both parties, or all parties, an opportunity to come in and speak and present their case and to review, you know, the situation. And then we can make an appropriate decision from there on how we would go forward.
Are Karen and Tom able to go out to the property and give us more of a recent update?
Again, the only, yes, we can get out there, yes, we can take some photographs, both from neighbors' properties that have given us
Yeah.
permission and from the street. You would need the property owner's permission to enter, I don't know if we would be able to secure that or not. But, like I said, to date, the conversations, we've been able to have conversations with the property owner, they just haven't really borne any fruit.
Yeah.
You know, that's the only place where we get
And
stuck,
I think,
right?
looking at historically, this seems to be the same pattern he's done for quite some years. He puts off, and it never gets resolved. But we've given lots of chances in lots of ways. I don't know about Nick, I think we should move forward with this.
Well, and again, like I said, we're not necessarily committing to actually doing it, you know, it's more of a just starting the process to make sure that we're in a position to be able to, and hopefully it will be something where it gets resolved in an amicable way for everybody that's
Yeah.
involved.
Okay.
It's happened before, so if you guys are good with that, you know, I'll work with Tom and the prosecutor's office on at least, cause we'll do that through Matrix, it's a pretty standard process, we did it for Hunter Drive.
Okay.
We'll kinda start the notification process, and then, you know, depending on how it goes, we may look at doing like the preliminary hearing in conjunction with the meeting that we already, that's what we did in the past, right? We did it as part of, we can do the public hearing as part of our regular Tuesday meeting.
Oh, okay.
You know, potentially means, you know, we have a little bit longer meeting
Sure.
potentially,
Right.
but we can look at doing it that way, so.
Okay.
That's everything I had for zoning. Under correspondence, I mean, obviously, we just talked about, one of the main pieces was that property. Did you guys have anything that you wanted to add under correspondence?
I had a phone call from a resident, and he was just concerned with people traveling at high rates of speed down his road. I got in contact with Lieutenant Wagner, and we're gonna do a little bit more patrols over in that area. So
Where was it?
Carlton and Egypt,
Okay.
so.
Yeah. Country roads.
Yeah, so,
Okay.
Yeah, I had a phone call today from a resident who called me because Fiverr had cut or chipped in to his electricals. They are refusing to do anything, so I gave him the phone number from the guy who owns the company. But it means they're without electricity, and they cut it at a point, so the whole house and the electric box has to be redone because they did a bad job. So I gave him the number, and I said that if he doesn't hear back from the company, then I will contact them as well and chase it. But they're over in Culverdale,
Coverdale.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, so that was the only one I had today.
Okay. Alright, so unresolved business. We still have the appointment of the official meeting recorder. I did get a chance, did you get a chance to read the one Carrie had sent us, for last week, or
Yeah.
last meeting.
Yeah, I reviewed it before the last meeting. I haven't like brushed up on it. I thought we were gonna schedule a work session or something.
Well, that was we had talked about the employee handbook.
Oh,
I mean, we can do it as
oh.
part of it. I guess, you know, and I got a chance to kind of go through the official meeting recorder. The only thing I would say is, and we had discussed it a little bit when you had first brought it up, is just kind of what we're trying to accomplish with it. I think there were some really good pieces of there as far as, you know, outlining, you know, what our policies are, what our processes are for recording the meetings. But I do think there were a couple of sections of it that that probably go a little bit farther than what I'm comfortable with. Just because some of it almost seemed a little, I don't want to say it, like maybe trying to solve problems that aren't there. And that's not, I don't mean that as a negative, but just like sometimes when we're trying to draft these things, right, you try to think of every scenario that could possibly come up, and sometimes you try to put things in and it's like, well, you know, I think I know what the intent is, but sometimes it can maybe be read the wrong way as trying to be too overly restrictive or creating too many barriers to some things.
I
So
think that's where you notice there's a few gaps to fill in, that's why I sort of wanted an input to it as well.
yeah, so I think if you know, since we've had a chance to maybe digest it a little bit more and have some conversation, I think, you know, maybe an opportunity to do a little bit more feedback on it, maybe streamline it a little bit, because like I said, I think there are some good pieces to it, but I think it's maybe a little bit broader than what I'm comfortable with. Sorry to put you on the spot, I know you were more prepared for it last meeting than I was.
Right, yeah, so I pulled up my notes from last time. There were several things that I had questions about.
Because Nick wasn't obviously
Right,
on the initial
when we
email.
first started,
Nick, did I send you all the emails in the end or
because
not?
Haley got back to us eventually with a full opinion.
Yeah, I did get
Yeah.
Haley's.
And I tried to do, because sometimes she called me to ask me questions, so when we had those calls, I just noted everything down in email, so they went to yourself and obviously former trustee. So do you want me to send you the whole of our emails, Nick? Would that help you kind of get a broader picture of everything?
Yeah, so I have her response, like her final written up.
Yeah.
I don't need that, but if you had other, I guess maybe your initial email and what you requested,
Yeah, I can see that.
and then if there's any gaps between that, any emails that would help fill in the gaps between what you originally requested and what we got, it might be helpful.
Would you like a copy right now, Nick? Here's one I made earlier.
So you're all good. So again, I hate to keep kind of pushing things
Yeah,
off, but
no,
maybe we
some
can.
of it's got my underlining and notes on it, but that's just because I was making notes on it.
Maybe we can have a little more
Yeah.
substantive conversation
Yeah.
for the 2026 as well. We discussed the employee handbook at the last meeting,
Mhm.
and I appreciate you guys getting back to me with schedules. I think the only one that really matched up for everybody was the 28th potentially. I think you both had indicated that the 28th was good.
Yeah.
If that's still the case, it's hit and miss for me, but I don't know if we wanna keep putting it off. You know, I can probably make it, there's an outside chance, you know, that I might have to like join you guys a little bit late depending, cause I know early was what was better for everybody schedule wise, it sounded
Because we
like.
were doing during the day, during the work day,
Right,
weren't
because
we,
we wanted
for
to
the
be able,
employees?
bring in, you know, Kristen, hopefully Matt,
You work
and or
Thursdays,
Ben.
Kristen?
Yeah,
Yeah.
and then hopefully Karen can join us too, because I think Karen had already provided us with a bunch of good
Yeah.
feedback.
Yeah,
So-
we
so I
definitely
guess
want Karen there.
If we wanna try to get something done this month, I would recommend that we probably schedule for the 28th. I should, like I said, I should be free, but I've got a couple of things that are up in the air still that may,
And I can't
interfere
remember
with
if I
that.
booked anything in as well, huh?
And we probably should, I would suggest we do it at the admin building in case people come for vouchers or whatever.
we can
Could
do that. Cause
Okay.
I don't think we'll get a ton of public interest, but if they
Yeah.
do, it can be open, we've got space in
We have
the-
yeah.
We've got space in there, we've done a couple down there before, so you guys
Okay.
wanna try to do,
I'll double check my date on the 28th though, because I can't remember now, my field ending.
okay, well then, yeah, then let's confirm, let's try to do that. How much time do you think we wanna block off for this? Cause I know I think you said you need to be out by noon, or
Yeah.
11?
Yeah, probably noon, but now, yeah, we have to double check that date.
Okay.
That's,
Otherwise, what about the beginning of July? No, June.
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 We
Get
could
away from
definitely do
myself
that.
then.
Don't-
Yeah,
Gary's
I'll
really
push this
pushing it off.
Chloe leaves last day of school, so I
Okay.
have to pick up my daughter from school.
Yeah,
because
that's it.
Bus
Well,
services aren't running.
Why don't, since we kinda tried to narrow down the dates as much as we can, why don't you both confirm the 28th is good, and we'll try to plan on like, how early do you wanna start?
Yeah,
Anything
Is it earlier better, really?
Probably,
all gonna
probably earlier and better, especially, you know, I don't, I think preliminarily, we can
I'm not
probably
doing
block
7
off
o'clock
like.
though,
Oh,
right?
no, I can't do that early either, I gotta get my youngest to school, so, you know, I could probably be available by 9:30.
Okay.
that
We
sounds
could
good.
probably plan like 9:30 to 11:30, you know, there's an outside chance, like I said, I do have a couple things up in there that might interrupt, but you guys can
All right,
definitely.
well, let's plan on that, the 28th from 9:30 to
Okay.
11:30, and then, just, I guess, respond if it doesn't work for you.
Yeah, let me know, after, like, by
Yeah.
tomorrow,
Yeah.
otherwise Kristen and I will get it scheduled for the 28th at 9:30. We'll put it in,
I'll email Karen.
okay,
Kristen, could you do an email out, I think as well, to all the employees to
Yeah.
see, to
Obviously,
be
service
prepared
guys
with
will be
questions,
there,
and they
but
wanna give us questions in advance?
well, that's true too, they can
Could
definitely.
they
pres-
send
yeah.
things to us now, so we can kind of start
Okay.
thinking about this and preparing for it a bit more?
okay.
And then obviously that includes you for anything else, and then Nick, I think Karen shared the email with me that she sent, so I'll
Yep.
share that with you as well, cause she had a whole long list of questions on
Yep.
hers. And then we can kind of start preparing more and getting the feedback in sooner as well.
Now, is this just township employees?
Yes.
Or-
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, the fire have their own handbooks.
The reserve funding, we discussed a decent amount at the last meeting. I feel like everybody's kind of just not wanting to move forward with anything this year. Good information to have, we may revisit it, you know, after we do budget for 2027, maybe factor it in. It's a conversation we can have there, but
Yeah.
am I reading it wrong that, and it's
No,
okay, like,
well, I talked to some other, so I struggle with spending that kind of money for somebody to tell me how much money I need to save.
Yeah,
Right.
So,
yeah,
I talked to some other trustees in other townships, and, like, a lot of them, what they do is they have their department heads list their assets. So I think what we should really do, and I think it's very important to have reserves.
Mhm.
So I don't necessarily wanna kick it down to next year, like, I don't wanna kick it out of, like, I think we should look into it. But they had the department heads, so, Matt and Brian and, maybe, I don't know, that zoning needs. to-
zoning doesn't really much the way the
Yeah,
assets,
yeah,
but we
so-
can do the same thing
so,
around admin.
Yeah,
you
list
know.
the assets, I think we need to determine what's the threshold, like, certain things we can cash flow for a year, so we need to have a threshold, anything over X dollar amount, I don't know if that's 25,000 or 30,000, it depends on our budget and how much, you know, maybe it's 2% of our budget or something, so anything over a certain amount, we should have on a list and determine the lifespan of it, the lifespan that's left, the replacement cost, and then we take, you know, if it's, like I had Chief start this on the fire department side, if we have an ambulance that's brand new, and let's just say that its lifespan is 10 years, and the replacement's 400,000, so that tells us, well, we need to start saving $40,000 a year, so in 10 years, when we gotta buy another one, we have $400,000 to do it. So, that's,
Well, then why
I
don't
think
we,
it's that simple, like,
Then-
we don't need to make it
I'm-
complicated.
I'm perfectly fine with that, like I said, the original reason for bringing the conversation up was to get us to a better place than where we currently are. So whether that's, you know,
Yes.
bringing somebody in
Absolutely.
outside, or whether it's an activity that we're doing here, so if you're good with it, I think this goes hand in hand pretty well with the tax budget and
Yeah.
planning for that.
Yeah.
So since you've already started it with Brian, for a consistency standpoint, do you have a problem, you know, working with Ben or Matt, you know, or both of
Yeah.
them, to kind of have them implement the same thing on the township side? I feel like Matt's probably already doing that, especially as
Yeah.
he's, you know,
It's kinda
taking inventory on what we have and what he needs and what will help do that. So, look, I mean, you know, if he wants to, you know, kind of reconfigure some of the assets that we have in the department to facilitate him doing his job, this is a great
Yeah.
piece of that. So if you would, why don't you maybe make this kind of like a midterm project, you know, for the
Sure.
next month or two, and try to have, if we can maybe get that high level information back for us for the budgeting, you know, for the tax budget in
Mhm.
July. And then at that point, we can kind of take that and say, oh crap, we need more detail, or no, you know what, I think we
Right.
are comfortable with this to
So-
at least start with, so.
So as a board, I think we should decide what that threshold is, like what should be on the list and what, like at what dollar amount of replacement cost should be on the list. Because I don't wanna list a furnace that's $10,000.
Well, I guess my thought on it is maybe it's more than just a dollar amount, right? Like I think for me, you wanna have a plan for anything that is like mission critical or operational need, right? So you wanna know the buildings, the vehicles, you know, the systems that keep those running, you know? So while it maybe is small, I don't, and it maybe doesn't require as much planning, I think an acknowledgement within that plan that like, look, if the furnace goes out,
Yeah.
we're not gonna not replace it, right?
Right.
Like there are certain critical systems that are in there, so I do think that they need to be at least notated on that system. But to your point, right, like every last little piece of equipment and tool that we use
Sure,
in either of
yeah.
those, that's not, you know,
I
that's not
suppose-
what we're talking
So
about.
like if 10,000 was a colour plate, I'm thinking like the lawnmower. If the lawnmower goes, that interferes with township business, and maybe that threshold of anything 10,000 above. When I'm thinking of the service department,
That's fair.
otherwise if you're doing every tool, they're thinking lower budget, well,
Yeah.
you've got to document every tool then.
Right, and that's probably a solid number, because I can't think of too many things that are gonna be over that threshold that you wouldn't throw in that needing a plan for, you know.
Because most
Type
things
piece
are
of-
factored in the budget at that point,
Right.
aren't they, under that?
And then if there's anything that you identify that's like, hey, we couldn't live without it, we should at least maybe have it notated, even if there isn't a big financial, like, we don't need a huge financial analysis of how to plan for a $2,500 expense per se,
Yeah.
but you maybe just have it notated, that like, these are things that we need to keep in there, so. You good with taking lead on
Yeah,
it?
I can do that.
Thanks, Nick. Public records request policy handling, unfortunately, I haven't gotten as far forward with that as I had hoped to. But I just think one thing that we need to streamline, you know, for the employees, and we talked about it a little bit at the last one. We just need to make sure that like, as public records requests come in, cause they will come in from a number of different ways. We need to make sure that everybody's aware that they need to be given to Kristen, like, at least within the next business day, you know, or maybe her next scheduled day, just so that she can be keeping track of this, cause we've had a couple of instances where, again, not that I think anybody's done it on purpose or because they haven't wanted things to be done, but they don't get to Kristen to track properly, and then it's easy for, you know, I'll get it tomorrow to turn into next week, or, you know, like, there's always a million things going on, right? So it's easy to lose track of those, and we don't wanna be doing that. So Kristen's got a tracker, she works with, if we can get the public records requests back to Kristen so she can kinda like quarterback the situation, and then she can identify, hey, these are all records that are within the, you know, the records room or in the office, and she can fulfill it. She works with Sherry to make sure everything gets done, and then one of the two of them fulfills it. If it's something where, look, I've had a couple that have come in where it's just like, it's something that I have, right? Like, I think we should be filling those, but we wanna make sure that we're including Kristen, like, hey, somebody asked me for this document, put it on the tracker, I filled it. I usually, and I try to, I think I usually copy you on them, but I try to remember to copy Kristen, copy the fiscal officer, so there's a record of it, cause the one thing that we ran into is we had a public records request come in last year. They had asked for physical papers, which is fine, that's not a problem, we made copies, and we gave them to, we didn't keep a copy of what we provided, and now there's a question over
No, we did.
what was,
I don't,
do you have it?
yeah, it's
Okay.
it's in their file. But it's not a digital file.
Right, that's what we talked about.
And we
sorry.
didn't, there wasn't, somebody had missed, it was before we started this system.
Right.
It was before we started, I personally started inputting that I was in charge of all that, before I became Sherry's assistant. It was before that. So, yes, so now that we have a better track record of who requested, when it was requested, when it was acknowledged, who fulfilled it,
When it was fulfilled,
when it was fulfilled.
and what was fulfilled, yeah.
And so all you gotta do is, if you're fulfilling a records request, say, I'm gonna handle this, but here's the request. So all I do is copy and paste what they wanted
Yep.
into the
Right.
tracking, into the Excel file, so that we have a record of what was asked for. And then once you fulfill it, send it to me, and I sent you guys that email that there's another thing in Outlook where I'm dropping all of that information so that we all have it in case it would come up again, or, that, so.
So, and we'll try to get something maybe like spelled out a little more in writing, formal, and then present it to everybody, so, but that's where we are with that one. Streetlight, we're still working on getting a hold of, the HOAs and stuff like that to get some feedback, so I don't know if there was any other movement on that, but
No.
we're still working on that piece of it.
I did update the residents to say you're handling it.
Alright, yep, then the other thing we have, I think you guys were both copied on it, but we have the HRA plan adoption. It was just a part of the new insurance plan because we moved to a new plan administrator. There are some documents that we need to put together, so I have, a resolution just outlining adopting the Lafayette Township Health Reimbursement Arrangement HRA Plan, approving the associated plan documents and summary plan description, and authorizing implementation and administration of the plan, and declaring an emergency. But basically, this was, all part of, we obviously approved all of these in previous meetings with the change of the health
Right.
policy and everything along those lines, but this, just kind of formalizes that and authorizes both, Morgan benefit administrators and the fiscal officer to act as plan administrator for those, and then that's just us delegating that authority. So if you guys had a chance to review that, I would make a motion to approve resolution 2026-37, adopting the Lafayette Township Health Reimbursement Accounts.
I'll second.
Roll call.
Yes.
Kittle, yes.
Pearl, yes. And then, I know Keith had followed up with both of you guys, after the opportunity, I sat down with him prior to the last meeting, and unfortunately it just got left off the agenda for the last one. But he's always been, his original contract had lapsed. So he's proposed a new contract. It's essentially the exact same contract. Same fees, the rates haven't changed, anything like that. Let me double check, I believe it was for 2 years, but there is a mutual 45-day, out on it.
45 days or 60?
Thought it was 45, cause it stuck out to me as being different, but let me just double check here. Let's see, where did I put that? Yeah. Lafayette Township and/or KGC may terminate this agreement with 45 days written notice. And it would be the exact same thing. Monthly agreement for services, $22.50 split between the township and the fire district. That covers all of our IT maintenance, email, the $22.50 covers the actual just like the service, and then there's the additional add-ons of like the licensing for Microsoft Office and Barracuda, which is the email monitoring and protection, as well. But but if you guys didn't have any questions, I would recommend, let me just double check, get you the exact term again, sorry. Okay, so it's not for a set term, so it would be just, you know, reauthorizing essentially what we currently have with the 45-day out, because it does not have a set end period on it. So again, it would just be something, we're basically an open-ended 45-day commitment. And if you guys are okay with it, I would just make the motion to approve the contract. This is actually dated April 20th, 2026. And just requires one signature from the township. So if you guys are okay with it, I would just authorize the board chair, myself, to execute the agreement for IT services with KGC Tech Group, dated April 20th. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
We have administrative announcements. Obviously, township cleanup days are going on, April 20th through June 19th. So make sure you get the vouchers if you need them. I know we had, Sherry was in the office on Saturday. I stopped in for a little bit, was working with her. Had a pretty good amount of people come in to get them. So just make sure you get those before the 19th, because that is a hard finish. And they told us this year they're not gonna accept them after the 19th either, correct?
Yeah, I don't think they did last year either. Yeah, they did that. Yeah, that is the last day you can turn it in.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, and then, Nick and Kristen, if you guys wanna go over it, feel free, but you guys have worked really hard on the township movie night for the 17th.
Yeah, nothing really to update. We just, we did obtain 2 more sponsorships, each $100. We have another one that said the check's in the mail. We don't have an idea, we don't know how much that check is, so we have a total of 3 confirmed sponsors and 1 more that
It's coming.
the check should be on the way.
You can say the title now. We have the rights.
Yeah, what is the movie?
We're gonna show The Sandlot.
I've never seen it, ever.
It's such a good movie.
And dark.
Even
Any
like
other-
teenage kids will love it. So yeah.
Kristen, any other announcements that I forgot? Anything that we need to?
I don't think so.
Okay. Then I hate to do it to everybody, but I would like to call for a very brief executive session to discuss potential discipline of an employee. Ohio Revised Code, Section 121.22G1, potential discipline of a public employee or official. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Roll call?
Bar, yes.
Kittle, yes.
Parola, yes. Alright, it is 8:38, just the 3 trustees in executive session. Yep. I don't expect this to be very long. Alright, thank you, everybody. It's 8:56, we are out of executive session, no decisions were made. Unless anybody has anything, I would like to open the floor for public comment. Alright, seeing none, is there anything that either of you would like to add?
I don't have anything else.
Alright, well, with that then, I would thank everyone for coming. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn. It is 8:56.
I will second. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Meeting is adjourned. 4-0.